So let's just bring Petey in and say hello. Because I miss him.
Yeah, again, I should be better at technology than this because it's part of my job, and then I don't get your text, tweet, whatever you send me an hour ago. Don't get it, and so I'm behind. I apologize, but I can talk Chicago Blackhawks for a minute. How excited I was again that this team gets one line going and then other lines stop going, and I will tell you this. I'm sure you guys already talked it to death. First of all, Vlasic getting goal. Love it. I love that kid. I love that kid. He's going to be an unbelievable hockey player. He plays responsible. He can help you offensively. He stays in his positioning. His stick is good. He's good along the wall. Great reads, and he's a kid. So bright days ahead for Chicago defense. Did you guys talk about the Bedard, Hall, Bertuzzi line?
Not yet. I mean, we have in our post-game shows, but
yeah,
not today.
Like last night, like the Boston, like that kerfuffle. Like they're -2. And hey, I everything we've said this on the show, how many times? Everything the Chicago Blackhawks need to do is to cater to Connor Bedard and make him the best possible player he can possibly be. I'm not sure if this is the answer. And I'll only say this because we're watching Taylor Hall and Tyler Bertuzzi, hardworking guys, good feet, good motors. Their ability to read a play and play system play is not great. They don't play within structure extremely well. So if you watch those two goals that line is out for against the Boston Bruins, buddy, Bertuzzi almost screwed himself into the ground. He was spinning around so much. They looked incredibly lost in the defensive zone, and that's not a great recipe for Connor Bedard. So I know in the offensive zone they do get going, but man, those two are tough to play.
They're -5 in the 2 games they've been together. That's not great.
Is that good?
No, that's not good. And
it was not math, not my strong suit, but no.
All right, so the chat fired Luke Richardson a year ago. Now we have fired the interim, and you are now the head coach. What are you doing at 5-on-5 to best support Connor Bedard with the guys currently on the roster?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get him away from Bertuzzi and Hall. I'm going to keep those two together because it's utter chaos when they're on the ice, and that might be a good thing. That might be okay to have those two getting to the net and creating offense. I do think that's okay, but I think they need a more experienced guy in the middle with them. I don't think they can play with Connor Bedard. I hate to say it. I'm not sure if the roster is there for Connor Bedard. Teuvo Teravainen is the guy, should be the guy, and he's not. He hasn't been able to do it. So if I'm starting today, I'm playing him with I got to play him with Foligno because he's the smartest guy on the ice. He's going to get to places. That's why the Dickinson line worked well against Boston. That's why they had opportunities, because you have a smart player. And I think Connor Bedard needs a smart, responsible player with him. And so right now I'm putting Nick Foligno. Unfortunately, I don't know if Nick's fast enough to keep up with Connor Bedard. And I really wish it was Teuvo Teravainen. So I guess I would stroke that relationship between Teuvo and Connor Bedard. But you've tried that game after game after game. This problem is right now it's beyond coaching. It's personnel, and I don't know. I might have to sit for a year. I'm sorry, guys. It's not looking to be their year, and they've got to move past Taylor Hall. Bertuzzi, unfortunately, paid him way too much for way too long, and you're stuck with them. And you're going to look at next year with Frank Nazar and get those young guys up playing with them. If things don't pop soon, you got to do that too. You got to get them with Nazar and just let them learn together.
We just had Alex Vlasic pretty much tell us that unprompted. He was very diplomatic about it. We asked, hey, a lot of people hard on the coaching staff. Let us know what you think, and said all the right things and said, but something has to change. Be it something systemically, or you call up somebody like Frank.
Like, he also kind of admitted that he listens to us.
Yes, he did.
Yes, yeah.
That may start with that in the room. No CHGO allowed in the room.
Kids making poor life decisions already.
Or bad influence. But yeah, and you mentioned Teuvo, and Teuvo got off to a great start, was the best player for the first 3-4 games, and has looked lost and has said himself that he's super lacking in confidence. The other night, remind me, they're all the same effing game. They get a 2, but he's got a 2-on-1. He's got the puck right in front of the goal. He stops, spins to the backhand, and drops it to nobody.
That was the Columbus game, yeah.
It's like, I would have shot the puck and had a 50% chance of scoring. He just is completely broken right now. And I don't know if the Four Nations is going to be a way to get his game back, get him playing with better players and getting some puck luck or whatever it might be. But like, if you're talking about a meritocracy on the team, I don't know how you can promote Teuvo. That said, who has played well enough to earn a promotion aside from Lucas Reichel or Craig Smith? And your top line can't be Bedard, Craig Smith, and Foligno.
No. And Joe Anderson and Dickinson were great with him for a game because they're two guys that worked incredibly hard and they looked good for a game. But you can't have Joey Anderson playing with Connor Bedard. You can't. And it's got to be Teuvo Teravainen. And to get his confidence up, I was just watching the Boston Bruins the other day with Pasternak. It's exactly the same thing. And he's a guy who won't shoot his one-timer, can't get shots on net. He's just rattled and he's just out of his game. And it's hard to get that back. The only way you can get confidence back is to have some success. And it's hard to have success when you're struggling. It's just a vicious circle for Teuvo Teravainen. And as a guy that it's in him, you saw it, like you said, at the beginning of the season, it was there. You've seen it in past years. The kid can play. He is the guy that they got to play with Connor Bedard. I don't know if you just make them, you give them somebody, again, Foligno, give them Foligno, your job, Foligno, get the puck in, get the puck, get it to these two guys. And just, we're going to stick with it. And we're going to stick with it for weeks and just see if we can finally get this kid coming out of it. Because right now, this Bertuzzi Hall thing is, man, I watched the goals in that game and you looked at both goals. They're the same goal. I thought I watched the same goal twice. And I go, oh no, it's a different goal. That pass through the seam and they're screwed up in covering the front of the net. Connor Bedard can't come out of 2 games -5. He can't. Like that. You need him to be a successful player. At worst, you need him to be even and go, okay, his chances didn't go in. Okay, he had chances, they didn't go in, but that's not even what's happening. So this is a work in progress for at least another year. I'm sorry. See, Petey joins and I just come in and bring everybody down. I'm sorry.
Petey, you're not saying anything
telling
too
us
different.
anything
Yeah,
we don't already.
I got my
know
Team
based
USA
on-
hat on. Yeah.
I mean, they started the season with Foligno, Bedard, Teravainen. That line had success. Then it was quiet for a few games, and then they've gone back to it one time for like a period. And it's been something that we've said before of like, go back to that. In the midst of all the lineup change tornado through the first 24 games of the year before we got consistent lines for a few games in a row, that was one that it just never went back to it consistently. And that's the line that's kind of had, at least analytically and at the start of the season production wise, like that's where things were going right. So it is confusing why it was never gone back to, because I feel like all 3 guys fit well with each other and Bedard was doing better. Teravainen had a great start to the season with that line and then has not been able to replicate it since. So, I mean, I feel like it is frustrating that it hasn't been gone back to.
But that's some of the pressure the coach is under, and you could see it because they're looking for the immediate return on something like that. You can't play the long game. He's feeling the pressure right now that we need the immediate success, and if things go quiet, I've got to try something else. Or because I'm not in the room, maybe there's pressure inside the room. Maybe like there are guys that don't like to play with other guys, and if they have the coach's ear, you say, I don't want to play with this guy anymore. Like it happens, and so to me, I'm blowing it up, and I saw somebody in the chat say putting Jason Dickinson in the middle and putting Bedard back on the wing. Maybe take away some of his defensive responsibilities and let him play high in the zone where he can steal pucks like he did before. But just because someone's taking faceoff doesn't mean they can't play high in the defensive zone. I mean, Bedard can still take the draws and still play that spot high in the zone where he can pick up that D-to-D pass and get going the other way.
With a guy like Teuvo, I agree. He should be on Bedard's line. And, it was there for a little bit, and then he's on the second line. He's on the third line. He was healthy scratched for a game, and but he hasn't been back on that top line yet. A guy like Teuvo, a guy that's a veteran, has had a lot of success in this league, has the track record. You should just put him there and keep him there, right? I mean, you kind of said that earlier, but like that's really all you can do with a guy like Teuvo who's done it before is you just give him the line and let him take as much of slack as he needs to get back.
Yeah, I think you do. And I think you bring the two of them into your room. You're the coach. You bring those two into your room and say, here's the deal. this should be working. You're the most talented players. You should be playing together. Our plan is for you to play together. This is what we're going to do. Here's why. We have confidence in you. I believe in you. I know it's in your game. And I would show a Teuvo Teravainen highlight film from last season and show, here's how you play. I know you can play like this. We've seen it. And you know what? I might be as even bold and crazy as we used to call them loops. We'd make video loops and we'd throw it throughout the locker room, the medical facilities, from all the way to the weight room. We could control all of the TVs. I might put highlight loops of a lot of players on that thing and let it go all day long. And I don't care if it's from Taylor Hall from the Edmonton Oilers. I don't care. I want to see all of those players having success. I want to see Teuvo Teravainen going, every time he looks at a TV when he's passing it in the meal room, in the weight room, he's going, oh my God, yeah, that's a hell of a goal. That's a good pass. I can do this. And I think you tell those two guys, this is what we're going with. We're going to give you a long leash, but I expect you to work hard. It's kind of a reward, Teuvo, for to give you back this. And we're going to give you a long leash, but you have to work hard. Even if the offense isn't there, we need to see you working hard. And now he's got a goal. He's going, okay, well, I can work hard. You can't guarantee goals. You can't. You think you can help, but you can't. But I can work hard. So he jumps over the boards with Connor Bedard. I'm going to work hard. And if you see that, just see the effort from him where his legs aren't standing straight up and you see his motor going, you've gained some ground with that line. And I think ultimately that's the line that's going to score. The third piece, yeah, I don't mind rotating that. If it's Dickinson one night, Foligno one night, Donato one night, I don't care. And I think that can rotate. You might even be able to throw Taylor Hall there in for a game. But I do think the Teuvo Teravainen, Connor Bedard duo has to be something that this team has to turn to soon. Because again, Bedard can't be -5.
Hey, if it's your first time seeing Petey on the show, it's our pal Steve Peters from, he's our All-City senior hockey analyst, PHNX, the Utah Hockey Show, all that great stuff. He is our video analyst. No video today because of the short notice, but we're going to put something up on social media.
It's pretty cool, by the way.
Yeah, featuring Austin Matthews. That'll be up as soon as the show ends today. Love having you on. And it's just, thanks, someone in the chat, it's Jamie says, it's like we're shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. And that's kind of the feeling is, okay, we have kind of been, pounding the table saying, do something and keep it together because that's been the frustration. So it was Bertuzzi, Hall, and Bedard, and it's been, 3 games now with those three together? Two with those three? And, okay, are we already pulling the plug on it after 2? Maybe. I see where the coaching staff is at, and I know last week you said everything you do has to be for the betterment of Connor Bedard, which I think we all agree with. But is that difficult for a coach to admit, maybe not verbally to the team, but to show to the team, look, everything we're going to do from here on out is to get 98 going and feeling confident and feeling good. I don't know how a coach can do that.
It's hard. It's hard because you're sitting there, you're Taylor Hall, you're an MVP in this league. Like, you're going, really? This kid right now? Yeah, great season last year, Calder, but where's he at this year? Like, I've got more experience. I'm faster. I can create offense. I'm the guy. What do you mean we're doing it for him? And I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. You could see it in Edmonton. The more ice time they gave Connor McDavid, I'm getting all these Connors mixed up. Well, they gave Connor McDavid all this extra ice time, and when things got rough, put McDavid on the ice again. He's getting close to 30 minutes. How do you feel if you're the guys who've been sitting on the bench for 12 minutes? Oh, well, why don't you just put Connor back out again? Let him do it. I'm not good enough to help you, so screw it. You put him on the ice again. I do think it's frustrating to players. I know they know who the better players are. Of course they do. They watch the games. They know who's better, but they want to contribute. And you're right. If you start to say it publicly, yeah, we're doing everything for Bedard, then I tell you what, Bedard be lighting it up. Like, if you're Connor McDavid and you're getting 3, 4, 5 points a game, yeah, put him on the ice. But when you're not scoring and you're not bringing that offense, it is hard to sell that movie to the players. It's hard because you give more ice time. And I'll give it again. I try to give examples of people I know. When you go back, and not the same player, Kyle Turris had the opportunity at the Arizona Coyotes with Gretzky, and Turris came in this high draft pick, 5th overall, on the ice all the time, power play, pulling his groin, jumping over the boards on every power play. And veteran guys are looking like, really? Like, what have you earned in this league? What have you done in this league yet? And it really divided the room. And ultimately, he ended up getting sent to the minors, wouldn't go, and had to leave town. But it can cause problems. And this It's a mess in Chicago. It's pieces that don't fit together extremely well, and unfortunately, that's part of a rebuild. And the one thing you want when you have a mess is you like to look at your board and see 1-year contracts. You'd love to see 1-year contracts because then you can make decisions and you can make moves. And when you see contracts that are 3-4 years, you're going, oh, we might be stuck for a little bit, and that's the concern here.
But here's my thing. Like, don't these guys that signed here for 1 year know the deal? Don't they know this is all about Connor Bedard? Like, and you said like there's some guys that don't want to play with other guys. Like, and I gave you the old
I saw it.
I'm throwing dice mechanic. Because I don't want to hear it from these guys. I'm sorry. Like, we keep saying Taylor Hall, and I'm just using him as an example. We have no evidence that Taylor Hall is a malcontent at all. But just saying, like, if Taylor Hall's like, I don't want to play with so and so. Then produce, right? Once you start putting up points and proving your value on a night-to-night basis, then maybe we'll take into account your feelings and what you want to do. But no one, and as much as Connor Bedard has struggled on his team, he still leads the team in scoring because no one else is doing a damn thing. So I don't really care about what these veteran guys with all the skins on a wall want right now. What the team wants and what they're being paid for, they're not providing. So when you start providing what you're being paid for, maybe then you'll have a little bit of a say in exactly where you get to play. I don't want to hear that.
That open door policy to the coaches, I've seen it where you go into coach, and don't do it to Rick Tuckett, by the way. Don't go into him and say, I don't want to play with this guy, or I should play in higher lineup, or I should get more ice time, because he'll bury you. And he will pull up the film and go, really? You want to play more? Here's you. Here's the way you're playing. Here's what you're doing. You want more ice time. If you want more ice time, just like you said, you want more ice time, earn it. Go get it. I've always said that players determine their ice time, not the coaches. If you're playing well, do you think a coach is going to sit you on the bench? Hell no. He wants you out there because he wants to win, because he needs to keep his job. So if you want to get the ice time that you think you deserve, or play with the players you want to play with, then produce. Now, we're saying that in one breath, but we're also saying put Teuvo Teravainen in there because we want you to be better. So I do think, as we've talked about Luke Richardson a ton, I don't know what the hell anybody else would do right now. I really don't. I think the line combinations are there. We've talked about system play. The system play, I think those guys can't play systems. And then to me, we've said this, Jay, if you can't play system, guess what? You don't play. Your job on this play is to play in the middle of the ice. If you can't play in the middle of the ice on a 1-2-2 in the neutral zone, then guess what? You're not going to play. And honestly, that's the only way you can start to control these things, because I do think we've seen it. A month ago, we were just talking about how good they were through the neutral zone, how well they defended. We did. We said they protected the house. Look how great they were for 2 periods. I know they didn't sustain it for 60, but they were good. And then you watch them last night and you go, oh my God, not one guy covering the middle of the ice in the defensive zone. It is incredibly frustrating. And I understand from the perspective of the fan base, you want the magic bullet to fix it. And right now it's 98. And you guys, you can't do it by yourself. He is not that kind of player that he can go up and down the ice and score 5. He's the guy that needs someone with him to help him produce, to get him the puck, or more importantly, a guy that he can get the puck to that can finish. And that right now is the piece that's been missing for the Chicago Blackhawks. If they find that, and you lose a couple of games 3-2, but you're competing, I think the fan base would go, okay, we get it. Like, we get it. But to continually make the same mistakes over and over again is really hard to watch.
Well, and that's kind of what Vlasic was saying is, they're playing the system. They're doing the same things every night for the most part, and they're not getting results. And I think there's a frustration of something has to give. And to be fair, I don't think he's calling for Luke to be fired. I think that if I'm going to pick between he wants a roster shakeup of some kind or the coach fired, I'm going 90% roster shakeup versus 10% coach fire. Because I think if you were to get Luke Richardson at Tootsie's after the draft over a beer in Nashville and said, what do you need? He would say, someone who can score. I think he would say that. He's not going to say it in the media. He's not going to say it unprovoked. I don't think he'll say it to the GM because his option's up after this year. But I think Luke is probably as frustrated as anybody that this is the cards he was dealt. And if Connor Bedard didn't do, a 40-40 season at least, this team was going nowhere. And right now, that's just not in the cards. And it's not Bedard's fault because he can't do it all himself. And the guys you did bring in here to help score are not.
They're not. And I think that you've hit it on the head. And I think if you did talk to Luke Richardson, hey, Luke's a good coach. I think he does have the basis of what he wants from this team and how he wants this team to play. I just don't think, I don't think they can do it continually. They haven't shown any consistency in their game from doing it night to night or shift to shift even, where they've been able to stay on track. And I'll give an example. I was looking through the film today of the Matthews goal, and I wanted to see how they play to control breakout by their opponent. And I tell you, I had to watch 2 games worth to figure out what the hell they were doing because it was so inconsistent. And I can't believe that he doesn't have them dialed into what they're supposed to do. It's a matter of their ability to do it consistently and their ability to do it right consistently. And that's part of that's personnel, and parts you just got to continue to beat it over their head. And I do think that's where you need to simplify things in the offensive zone. I've said this before. I don't think the defensemen hold in long enough. I think they're worried too much about getting scored on, so they pull out to cover the rush. So you're not getting those chances. But the goals last night, how did they start? They both started from the defense. And Vlasich's goal is literally a defenseman goal, but it starts with the defenseman getting pucks on net, and then a scrum ensues, and then good things happen. Like, it's not hard. You just have to do it more often. And I think defensively, man, just bring everybody in, protect the house. We just protect the house. That's it. We are not. You jump over the boards. You're trying to come off this shift even. When 98 goes on, we're trying to score. Let's win 1-0 right now.
Yeah, I mean, Luke had a little bit of frustration after the Columbus game on Sunday, whatever that day that was, where they lost 6-3. And Luke said after the game, we told him yesterday in video, we told him this morning in video,
yeah,
this is a team we can't let score off the rush. We cannot get in a track meet against this team. And they went out there and wanted to have a track meet with these guys. It's not what I told them.
Yeah, I think that's where the frustration comes in, and that's where you talked about the disconnect between coaches and players, and that's where you get to have a concern. And then if I'm a coach, we've talked about this before, in the early 2000s, before the salary cap, somebody be gone. Like there's no question that somebody in this room would have been gone by now prior to the salary cap. Now you can't do that, so the only change you can make is to get somebody up. And I think it does 2 things. And I've talked to people that, you got to leave Nazar where he is. He's only played 14 or 15 pro games. He's not ready. Leave him where he is. I understand that. I do. But make a change. Make a change to the room for somebody that's hungrier than heck out of the American League. Get him up here. Like, it's going to do 2 things. One, it's going to give a spark to the guys on the ice. It just will, because that kid is going to work hard. And he might have a guy that can bring it for 2, 3, 4, 5 games, but he can have just a quick burst of energy that brings you something. And secondly, it gets guys looking in the room, because somebody's going to have to come out, and somebody's not going to be happy coming out. And they're going, this kid's up here and he's working really hard. I better get my stuff together. So I think it's a dual purpose. You get a spark on the ice, and it does raise the level of concern for players on the ice. And that goes for the defense too. I don't think it's not a bad message to send somebody up, even if it's a short-term plan, just to shake something up, because this monotony of doing the same thing every day, the same players every day, is a spiral that you can't get into, especially coming into mid to late December, because you can't get out of it. You can't. It's dog days, and it gets dark, and you're traveling, and it's cold, and you're losing, and it sucks, and you just cannot get out of it unless you get that spark. And I agree with you, Jay. It's time.
All right, Petey, we got to let you go, man. We're on a hard out.
Well,
Thank you so much for your patience.
It's my fault.
And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Stop.
I don't read
It
notes.
is not your fault. Don't apologize for our nonsense.
Yeah. Well, good luck, guys. Thanks for patience with me. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys soon.
All right, Petey.
We all silly like the mayor.